Here we are in month 6 of COVID and month 6 of the 5 minutes with Father Len, even though now it's once a week with Father Len. One of the things that I think is most difficult for all of us at this point is the celebration of the liturgy, the Eucharist. It gives us such agita, angst, right here, every time when we can't do the things that we would like to do. But we have to remind ourselves that everything we are doing, from the wearing of a mask to receiving communion at a different time, all has a purpose, a meaning. It isn't meant to inconvenience us. It's not meant to be a problem. It's meant to be there to assist us so that we can get rid of masks, go back to normal practices. We need to do these things to be able to move forward. Here in Hunterdon County, we're very, very blessed. We're one of the least amount of cases in the state. The only ones below us are Cape May County and Gloucester County. And they have the shore and the Pine Barrens. So that's all it is. That's why their cases are low. We've just been very blessed. But we have to remain in that way. And that's why we do the things we do. Why do we take your names when you come in to Mass? Well, from the times that we had you sign up till now, when we take your name as you come in the door, we keep that so that for the 2 weeks that we keep those names, if anyone does come down with the virus, we can contact just the people at that Mass. We don't have to put an APB out to every Mass goer that weekend saying we were infected. It makes it a little bit more downsized, a little bit more concise. And that helps us. It also, in a weird way, helps us to really get to know our parishioners who are coming. We finally have names to faces. And people are getting to know people. And I think that's really one of the better things about this whole COVID experience. Yes, we know it's difficult to just keep on throwing envelopes in that basket, always wondering, is it going to the right place? Is it actually being accounted for? Yes, it is. And it is really, really being accounted for very diligently. Because we know that every penny that you give is being used so that we can keep the church going, that we can keep our staff employed, and that we can keep our own spirit alive. We would love to be able to offer the sign of peace. We would love to be able to sing out. But right now, those options are not on the table. They will be, but for now, they aren't, because of what happens when you sing out, when you spray, and if you're like me, when you talk, you spray. What ends up happening is you're going and spitting out the little buggers that you might have in you. And handing sign of peace, well, it's obvious. The one other thing that has been a bone of contention for a lot of people is where you sit and when you receive communion. Where you sit is probably the most difficult thing for us because no two Masses are ever the same. We have to try to figure out how we can get the optimum amount of people. Just before we did our taping today, we went and once again readjusted and re-examined the body of the church and how we can best get the most use out of the church. And right now, we could probably get about 120 to 125, depending upon who shows, how many, and all that. And that's important because as of right now, we're allowed up to 150 or 25%, whichever is less. 125 really is what we can accommodate. That is 25%. And it's going to be tight, keeping social distancing. But we want you to work with us. Once we get this, we know we will have it down pat. The other thing is when you're sitting in your seat, there's a purpose for you to be sitting in that seat. And that is so you do not spread anything to anyone else. You can, by moving around, take any kind of a disease, whether it be the flu, a cold, anything, and give it to someone else. That's why we ask you, once you are placed in a seat, to stay there. The other thing is when you receive communion, we have you coming forward at the end of Mass. We thought about the possibility of doing communion at its normal time. The only trouble is, how do we dismiss you? It would cause even more time and more chaos. Because remember, we're not allowed to congregate in the narthex. We're supposed to leave. So we have to try to figure that out. And after much prayer, consideration, discussion, we're going to keep communion where it is, but have you come forward like we have been, so that at least you're coming to the altar to receive. It gives that least amount of possible distribution of the virus to anyone. And we really need to try to do this. One of the hardest things in my position or any of the positions of the people here at the church is being able to be positive and hopeful, because this is a tough time and we're getting inundated constantly. Why do we have to do this? Why do we have to do that? I wish we could go back to, well, we feel the same way. But when people keep on doing that to us, we start to feel, are we doing a good enough job? Are we doing what we're supposed to do? We know we are. We know we've got that. But there's been so many times that we felt inadequate, incapable of being able to do things. That's why it's important that we work together, that we try to be hopeful rather than hopeless. We need to be optimistic rather than pessimistic. It's a different world we're living in, but we can get through this if we work together, listening to what the medical professions tell us, since they're the ones that really have the key to everything that's happening, and worry about one thing: each other. Last week, we were told in the gospel that we need to be with each other, that love is the fulfillment of the law. Maybe that's what we need for the remainder of this COVID experience. Let love, patience, understanding, compassion be what guides us, and not let the little things get us, because it's the little things that will destroy us, make us feel hopeless, and definitely not bring us back to where we want to be. I know this isn't probably the kind of a 5 minutes with Father Len we expect at this time, but it's important that we do this, that we know what we're doing, and that we remain united. When we are united, we can move forward. Remember, be patient. There are many opportunities to receive the sacrament, both at Mass during the week, Mass on weekend, and drive-by communion on Sundays from 12 to 12:30. Take advantage. Receive the Eucharist. Receive Christ. Pray. And be hopeful. And with that, we may see an end to all of this. Have a wonderful week.